Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. Again, if it's your first time here, welcome to our community. Happy to have you. And if you're a returning member, it's always great to see you back. So, this is the weekly Saturday shout-out series that we do. We all pretty much know how these go by now, but just a quick synopsis. Every Saturday, I shout out artists that I find through various social medias that I respect, admire, and or like what they're doing and feel like they deserve some more attention that they're not getting. And so we put them up in the video with some images of their work, links to their channel, and their website, whatever the case may be, and we try and give them a helping hand. And so without any further ado, we're going to get right into it. And we're going to start this week with a follow-up shout out like we have been doing. I think this is a really important thing on a couple different levels. One, as the channel grows and as time goes by and we get newer people in, I think the people that I shouted out towards the beginning of the channel, this gives new people a chance to see them that haven't seen them before. And then number two, in the first couple of videos I wasn't incorporating the images of the artist's work into the video. So now even if you did see the original video, now you actually get to see the artist's work, which I think is critically important, you know, of course, to see their work. So we're going to start out follow-up shout out with David. David's a great guy. I've had many communications with him. He's another one of these people that's been around since the beginning. He's an integral part of the community. He's always active in the comment section. He's helping other people. He's you know, doing a lot of interactive stuff and trying to get some cool community stuff going on. Perfect example is a few weeks ago he did what he called a Van Gogh challenge. I think it was for an anniversary of Van Gogh's birthday, I believe. And basically it was do a piece in, you know, could be any subject matter, but in the Van Gogh style that, you know, that immediately recognizable Van Gogh style, and put a hashtag on it, and then he put all of the entries up on his YouTube channel. I might link directly to that in the description here. I think things like that are really important. I think on a couple different levels, I think it's great, number one, to promote yourself in your own channel, but even more importantly, to get other people involved, you know, in the community. It helps keep the community strong. It helps people interact with each other, and not everybody has the personality type where they're going to organize something or be a leader or you know, a catalyst, but they like to participate in things like that that other people put together, and that's great. And then your art is going to improve as well because you're doing a different style than you're not used to. So I wanted to say thank you, David, for doing that. I think those contests are an awesome idea. If you want to do any more in the future, let me know, and I'll put them up in the video. I know Kat was doing one too, and I missed out on that. But if you guys have something like that you want to do, send me a message and I'll try and put your contest or whatever it may be up in a video to try and get some attention on that. So David's got some great work. He does some gouache work, he does some acrylic work, he's got some cool tutorials, he's got animal work, he does some still life work. I think he just did like a piece it was like oranges, but it stood out to me because orange has always been one of my favorite colors. I used to have a Mustang that was bright orange when I was a youngin', and I love the color in his work. And you know, he's also a teacher, which is amazing to me. All you guys that have full-time jobs, guys and gals that have full-time jobs and do the YouTube and your art and all that, I have so much respect for you. That must take so much energy. You know, I do this full-time and it's still draining for me. So he's a great guy. He's doing a lot of good things. He's a talented artist. Go check him out and look out for his contest, and if you want to participate in one of those, definitely go do that. Okay, so that's David. And then starting out the regular shout out is another David. This is David Denton, and we've got artists of all different levels that are at different stages of their career or their art journey, and you know, we respect everybody wherever you may be, and David is one of those guys, David Denton here. Also David that I just shouted out, your work is fantastic too. I'm talking about David Denton's work right now, and I feel like certain people in our community are at like a master level. To me, this is again just me as a consumer, in my opinion. When I see certain people's art, I feel like they've mastered their craft as much as it's possible to master a craft. And David is doing some extremely high level work, and I found him, it was a few weeks ago, maybe even longer, but he had an apocalyptic piece. And I love all things dark and depressing and apocalyptic and dystopian, and he had this epic apocalyptic piece where it was just concrete rubble and destruction and all that kind of cool stuff. And it was a tutorial, and the way he approached it I thought was really cool and effective. He, instead of kind of glossing over everything, he just broke down one little piece of the painting, which was a piece of concrete inside of the painting, and it was this a huge piece, but he broke down one little block of concrete that he was working on and really went in depth into what he was doing on that one little piece. And for an artist at that level to be disseminating that kind of information is invaluable. Number one, it takes an enormous amount of work and time, believe me, I know, to put that kind of stuff together while also working on the piece, and then do all the voiceover and editing and everything. And the information that he's got in that video and some others like it, a lot of people could really benefit from it, because he goes into specific techniques like dry brushing and some other things. Anyway, I wanted to let him know that I appreciate that, and that if you guys want to go learn from somebody who's at a very high level, go check his stuff out. I will probably link directly to that video that I'm talking about in the description box. And his work is just masterful, and we had a brief discourse via email, and he went in a little bit of background into what his motivation for his work is, and a lot of it has to do with him getting into his mental health issues or his emotional issues, like we all have. I know I can relate personally directly, and probably a lot of us can. That art for me is, I've always seen art as like therapy for those who have no other outlet, and it's our way of expressing ourselves and getting out things that you can't get out vocally, but it's intense, tangible release, and I could see that in his work. It's a lot of intensity and a lot of himself in his work. So guys, please go check him out, David Denton. I'm gonna link to that tutorial. Go check it out. He's got like 20 subscribers or something, which is ridiculous. He's incredibly talented, and his work speaks for itself. I don't really have to talk about it anymore. Go support him, guys. And if you want some really invaluable technique stuff, go watch those tutorial videos. All right. Next is Abi Grey. Abbie does primarily digital work, or at least that's what I've seen of her work, and what she's got up on her channel and what she sent me. It's really vibrant work. It's colorful work. It's really nice work, and it's a lot of it focused on female figures. And there are a few things about her work that stood out to me. The first thing is, there's one piece, I think it's called I'll Never Die, where she's got a female figure, and there are certain things when I'm looking at work that stand out to me. And I kind of talk about, how a piece feels to me, like if a piece feels alive or it feels vibrant. And specifically this piece, this is the one that drew me into her work, this one, I'll Never Die, where she's got a female figure, and then in the piece she's got the main subject, and then all around the piece in the background and in the foreground are feathers and bits of feathers flying in and around the main subject. And what that does to me is it gives the piece movement, and it gives the piece life, and it gives it depth on a technical level, because you've got something in the background and then the main subject and then something in the foreground. So you're working in, you know, three different levels instead of just, you know, one level. So the work doesn't feel stagnant, and it's little details like that that for me makes a piece stand out. And so, you know, she's got that. She's got some other work that's fantastic. And a quick point I wanted to make about her was she was a little bit, when she contacted me on Instagram, she had a little bit of trepidation and anxiety about her, you know, putting herself out there. She didn't know if she was ready. She didn't know if the quality of her work was there yet. And I told her, well, first of all, you know, your work speaks for itself. It definitely is of quality to be up, no question. And if I say something like that to you guys, or say something about your work in a video, it's because I mean it. I'll never say something I don't mean. And if I don't feel a particular way about your work, I just won't say that, you know. But if I say something, it's because it's genuine. I'm just not wired to BS. So Abbie, your work is fantastic, and it definitely deserves to be up. But addressing that fear and that anxiety, I might make a video about this subject, just a standalone video, but we all have that as artists. We're our own worst critics. I have that. We always second guess ourselves, and I think it's because we care about what we do. And I think that's an important threshold to get over. If you're not quite ready to expose yourself on a platform, especially as big as YouTube, that's okay, but try and get yourself there. I think it's important to put yourself out there. I think it'll make you better. Number one, when you get over that fear and that anxiety and you do it and you see that life doesn't end and there's good feedback on your work, and you know, it's not the end of the world like you thought it was going to be, number one. And then number two, it's the only way you're going to grow as an artist, is and grow and evolve, is to put yourself out there and get, you know, different feedback. And you know, so you'll be stagnant if you're always inside of your own little box. So try, if you can, to get yourself out there, and let Abbie know that her fears were unfounded, because her work is fantastic. Okay, so go check it out, and give her some props for having the courage to put it out here on the interwebs. All right, so next is Chelo Macabre Art. Again, a guy that does dark work. Love everything dark, evil, and sinister. That's my jam. I can't believe I just said that. So what I like about his channel is he's made it all-encompassing. In that, I mean, he's got studio tours, he's got art website advice, he's got speed draws and speed paints with audio. And I think that's really cool when you have channels that try and do more than just, you know, put, you know, up their paintings. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But it's also great to try different things, and I see he's trying to make his his channel a place where people can gather and have different content there to consume. Now about his art, there's always, it's funny how, you know, we as artists or consumers will notice different things. You know, different people notice different things. I was a tattoo artist, you know, I'm still licensed technically, but I was a working tattoo artist for about 10 years. So I always notice good line work in pieces. That always stands out to me. And his line work is really good. His pen work and pen control is really good. And he does really bold line work. And then he'll use, I've seen a few pieces, he does Copics with bright, bold colors against the line work. And then he uses highlights really well. Which is, again, something I'll always notice in pieces is highlights. I think that's an incredibly critical aspect of work in general. You know, highlights, you know, you've got your darker values, and then you build out from your darker values, and the farther out you can build from the dark, which is, you know, the lighter values, and then the highlights, the more dimension you can add to a piece. So adding highlights on top of a piece, really expands that distance between the dark and the light, and that's what gives pieces dimension and depth and all of those kind of good things. So I appreciate the way he uses highlights. Chelo Macabre Art, go check him out. All right, next is a name I'm going to butcher, Shahnoor Amer. I always notice different things about different people. What I notice about her is something I noticed in an artist we had last week, Christina, I believe, is that she uses, like Christina, she uses a lot of different mediums. On her channel, she's got a watercolor piece, an acrylic piece, a pastel piece, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with specializing in a style, but I think it's always great if you can diversify and try different things, and she does that. She's got a lot of different mediums on her channel, and the one piece that I found when I was trolling around the internet was an architectural piece that she did, which stood out to me on a couple of different levels. I don't remember exactly what structure it was, but it's like one of those Gothic cathedral type buildings that you see, and you know, with the spires and all that kind of cool stuff, kind of like, you know, like the Notre Dame, like those kind of things. And so those pieces are technical right from the start because there's so much detail and everything in them. But then also the perspective in this piece she used, it was a different perspective, like from the below looking up, which, you know, the draw distances and everything in the piece are all skewed when you change the perspective. So those two things combined, and then also she did it with watercolor. So that was a really impressive piece to me, and was worthy of note. And then she's got some other cool stuff up on her channel as well. So go check her out. And then last for this week is Scharle. Hope I said that right. I do the best with the names, guys. And she's somebody I've wanted to have up for a bit. She's been active in the comments and in our community for a while as well. And what stood out to me about her work, she does a lot of digital work, and as she uses, she's got bright, vivid colors, which, you know, I'll always gravitate towards. But the main thing that I noticed about her work is that she uses perspective and compositions really uniquely, and she's always trying to approach her pieces from different angles, different perspectives, trying to come at them in different ways. And that's another thing that'll breathe life into your work, is if you can use perspectives and angles and all contours and all those kind of different things. And it'll keep your stuff from becoming stagnant or redundant. And she's very, very good at using, excuse me, compositions, perspectives, angles, that kind of stuff. And she's got, I found it was on a side note, it's really funny because, you know, for all of these, I do a ton of prep work for these. I put a lot of work into these. I really look through your channels. I write down notes. You know, I write everything down, what stands out about your work to me, the points I want to make, because I want to best represent you and your work. And so, and there's usually something about each of you that stands out to me, and, you know, that I want to mention, and that's kind of the foundation of how I'll talk about you. And her work, what stood out to me was the compositions and the angles and the perspectives and you know, the life that gave her pieces. And so I wrote all that down, as that's what I want to talk about. And then afterwards, after I had that all written down, I went back to watch a couple more of her pieces. And one of them, it's a tutorial. She does some voiceover, and specifically she talks about, you know, that's something she works on in her pieces, and is trying to work more on the perspectives and all, and the composition. So my long-winded point being is, if you put effort into something, it'll show in your work. And not everybody will notice it, but, you know, people with a keen eye, or people that are looking, will notice those kind of things. So I definitely saw that in her work, and I wanted to let her know that I appreciate that. A couple different pieces she has that stood out to me. One was from inside of a high-rise. It's like a glass high-rise, and then there's the main subject, and then looking out through the buildings of the high-rise in the back, you can see a whole skyline and everything. and that's, you know, a great tangible example of how she's using perspective. And the way she's got the piece laid out, it makes you feel like you're in the building with the person. At least that's what I took away from it, and that you're looking out the window as well. And then another piece she's got, I think it's called Ragnarok, where there's a really fierce wolf standing up on a rock, and there's a lot of tension. It feels like the wolf is about ready to attack, you know. That's another example of a you know, piece feeling alive or vibrant. You know, it's got tension in it. And then something that you won't be able to see in the photos, but you will see if you go look at the videos, is she'll sometimes incorporate moving elements into her pieces as like a final touch. So in this Ragnarok piece, she's got like embers floating around the wolf, you know, that are moving. So go check out her and see what you think about her work. Okay, guys, I think that's going to be about it for this week. I've got a ton of stuff going on. I'm getting ready for a show coming up in Seattle, and I'm trying to finish commissions. I'm trying to do this and doing that and a bunch of other stuff that you don't need to hear about. But I know a lot of you have messaged me. Sometimes they're personal questions, and sometimes they're art related, or you know, whatever the case may be. And I've had the sentiment a few times that you guys have questions, or you want to talk with me, but you don't want to burden me or bother me. And I want you to know that that's not at all how I feel, ever. I love talking with you and interacting with you. So if you have a question, or if you just want to say hi, or anything personal, whatever it is, within reason, I love talking to you. Just if any answer or interaction I have, it's a genuine one. I'll never give you a canned answer to try and get you out of my hair or anything like that. I'm always going to give you an honest, thought out answer. So if I take a little bit longer, just please be patient with me, because I want to give you something real. Okay, so it might take me a little bit longer than I'd like, but if you ask me a question, or if you have something for me, I am more than happy to talk to you. Just be patient with me, okay? And I will get back to you. There's a lot of great stuff coming up on the channel. I've got a collaboration that I'm going to be doing with Mark from Red Mark Art. I've got some technique stuff coming up. I've got some time-lapse stuff coming up. And I know I said I was going to do the 500 subs giveaway, but the way things are trending now, we're probably going to be at 1,000 sooner. You know, when I'm ready to make that video, we're closer to 1,000 than I am to 500 at this point. So I think I'll do if I'm lucky enough to get to 1,000, I'd rather do that and make it a little more epic. I have some really cool ideas, okay? And if you, like always, if you want to be in a video, shoot me a message on Instagram, and or get a hold of me, and I'll get you up in a video. Go support all these artists, buy their stuff if you like it, prints, merch, leave comments on their videos, and all that kind of good stuff. And until next week, I thank you all for watching, and I appreciate you so much. All right, guys, later.